Well, a very good afternoon to you all from I think we'll call a slightly sweltering Daytona International Speedway. You join DriversEye Live from about 150 feet above start-finish here at the World Center of Racing. My name is Brendan Kazmarek. Happy to have everybody's company as always this weekend. It is GT qualifying, GTO, GTU classes to kick things off for us here at the World Center of Racing. Half an hour qualifying session. We've got cars on course, and immediately we've got flyers underway here around the 3.56 mile, nominally 7-corner layout here at the same track that hosts, of course, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The season opener for IMSA is also the midsummer event, the Paul Revere 14-hour for the World Racing League. Already your provisional pole sitter in the GTO category, 2 minutes, 0.492 second lap time from Go Karts Go Australia. If you haven't joined us since the end of last year, you'll think, well, nothing's changed there. Mercedes on pole. But let me tell you, dear viewer and dear listener, it's been a minute since we've seen a Mercedes AMG GT4 in the World Racing League. And Go Karts Go Australia in particular kind of picking up the mantle for Mercedes as a manufacturer here. NFC Motorsports taking the year away from World Racing League, and the Russell family, Aaron Russell and company, in that number 158 Go Karts Go Australia car. 2 minutes, 0.492, just dropped from that provisional pole sitting spot in GTO by the 74 AOA Racing BMW. That's the Rue sponsored helmets. Rue Helmets sponsored car, excuse me. That goes to pole just provisionally, and I think we've just had, for the first time in the World Racing League here, Round 3 Racing breaks the 2 minutes barrier in GTO, 159.882 in this kind of heat, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, close to 90 degrees ambient temperature. I'm sure our track temp is 130 plus. On a new set of 200 treadwear tires, 159.882. Just 0.4 ahead of that 74 AOA Racing BMW. FPRS Motorsports, goes right into P3 now, 2 minutes, 0.364. Go Karts Go Australia, a 10th further back. AE Victory Racing into the top 5. Keep an eye on that ticker down the left-hand side, dear viewer. Things changing all the time here. Cars out trying to get a little bit of draft before it takes the edge off of those tires. You need that straight line speed around the high banks here at Daytona International Speedway. And certainly you want the clear there in the infield. GTR 99 sits 6th at the moment there in GTO. Off-leash Motorsports, number 40 in 7th. The number 8 Random Vandals, number 163. There in P8. Now to P9, who have we had jump up in the mix here? 89X Motorsports in the Aston Martin. Number 89 up into P6. So that drops the GTR 99 car and everybody else behind them further back. Random Vandals in the number 163. Not a normal Random Vandals number. To dive deeper into that one. And the top 10 in GTO being rounded out by the number 52 ACP Tangerine Associates. BMW M4. GTU pole sitter. As I need to identify the source of an echo. Yeah. A very interesting setup up here. No echo till we went live. And here we are. Anyway, we figured it out. Success at DriversEye Live. It comes slowly, but eventually we do get there. So, GTU pole sitter at the moment. We'll get to what we're seeing on screen here, but I do kind of want to get ourselves caught up with the second of our Grand Touring classes. Stratus number 59, 203,199 is your current provisional pole sitter there. Splitting the 59 from its sister car number 58 is the Round 3 Racing number 1. 203.396. Stratus number 58 in P3 at the moment, 204.649. So a second and a half off of the number 59. That's the gold-colored Stratus Sebeco NP01. Remember, if you're new to the World Racing League, that GTU category is not a spec class, but it is made up this weekend, as far as I've been able to tell, entirely of the Sebeco NP01s. We do have that Ligier JSP4 that makes an appearance every now and then from 739 Racing by Rapscallion. They were on the entry list for this weekend, but I haven't seen them in the on track at any point this morning, which is unfortunate. Hello, if you're just joining us in the chat, we can finally take a peek at the YouTube chat here. Honky Tonk Tennessee is with us. The first Super Enduro Cup of the event of the year. That is absolutely correct, the Paul Revere 14-hour. The first of 2 single-day Enduros in the World Racing League this year. Of course, here and the 13-hour out at High Plains Raceway in central-ish, eastern-ish Colorado. The 14-hour here finishes, obviously, under the lights around the high banks at Daytona International Speedway. Always a team favorite event, one of my personal favorite events here as well, not least because we get this amazing panorama view from high above the World Center of Racing. We've got the long shot down the back straightaway here, the high banks around NASCAR turns 3 and 4, oval turns 3 and 4. Got a couple of cameras that have succumbed to the heat even at this early stage of the proceedings, but we'll keep it in, should be able to get those back up by the time we get to general production qualifying here. Shots down in the infield, generally looking pretty good there. Decent little breeze around the speedway this afternoon, which is always very helpful. Out of the pit exit area into turn number 3, there's your Camburn Performance Ginetta and the 909 automatic Sebeco NP01. That 909 currently at 209.525, sits shotgun on the GTU field. It's your Grand Touring underfield. Work their way through the kink. They're nearly flat out, probably flat out here in something resembling qualifying trim, at least lighter on fuel, and probably sticker tires here for the session. We're on turn number 5. Head up onto the banking here at turn number 1. Fortunately missing the camera there that would be showing the exit of turn number 6 just at the moment. Stratus number 60 now goes second in GTU, 203.170, and that is second because the 59 has also improved down to a 202.964. So we've seen more than a few times this season the GTU cars quicker than the GTU cars during races in particular, quicker than the GTO category cars, and they do tend to sit higher in the finishing order at the end of our 7 and 8 hour Enduros. Over a single lap here, particularly at Daytona, these long straights that rely on not just really good top end, but also the punch off of some of these slower corners, including both turn 6 and the bus stop. Very, very much going to favor the 400-ish horsepower GTO cars, those GT4 or GT4 adjacent machines. GTU cars being much lighter, 2,200 pounds in that area, making something like 250 horsepower. Obviously, they're going to lack the top end down at the end of those straightaways. Very, very good in the mid-speed corners, and obviously at places like Road America, Mid-Ohio, Barber, that make up the early part of the World Racing League schedule, those NP01s are awfully quick. But when we get to places like Daytona here, where we're much more reliant on the top end of the torque, unfortunately, those GTU cars just tend to be a little bit second class to the GTO machinery, despite being at that equal 9-to-1 power to weight number. 2 cars now into the 159s, 3 cars into the 159s. They're in the GTO category. Round 3 Racing leads the off-leash motorsports DGA JS2R, which goes to the outside of the front row. 159.101 is the pole, with the 70 having been into the pit lane just a moment ago. The 40, 159.447, and then the 158 Go-Karts Go Australian Mercedes, 159.996. So I think I'm right in saying this is the first time we've been under 2 minutes here at the Speedway. That is an awesome lap time for these cars. Remember, it wasn't so terribly long ago. I mean, if you're a fan of IMSA, Grand Am, professional sports car racing in general here in the United States. It wasn't so very long ago that our GT cars were up around 2 minutes, even at the highest level. Certainly the GT4 machines that run in Michelin Pilot Challenge, as the IMSA Support Series, are right in that range. But they were above 2 minutes there for a very long time. Those GS category cars back in the early days. To be under 2 minutes here is pretty special. And I've been wondering if maybe development would push us that direction here. Some of these newer BMWs. We obviously haven't been here since 2023. We were away from the World Center of Racing, unfortunately, for last year due to the unplanned backstretch paving out there. And unfortunately, they were able to get it done quickly, just not quite quickly enough. I think they were back here at the Speedway within 2 weeks of our session, or our scheduled weekend here, which is always this first weekend in June. But always happy to be back here. Fine folks taking care of us over in race control, fine folks in security, Mike over in IT. I mean, everybody here has just been super helpful and really kind of reminds us of why it was so tough to be away from here last year. Never mind the racing that goes on track, but we are always well taken care of here at Daytona International Speedway, and looking forward to 14 hours of awesome racing to come tomorrow. AOA Racing is your fourth place car there in GTO, along with the FPRS Motorsports Ford Mustang, who will provisionally set to start on the inside of row number 3. That'll be alongside the AE Victory number 119 Toyota Supra. We're just about halfway, or just over halfway through this qualifying session now. That AE Victory Supra, it's a really good initial offering from the all-female squad. They've had some tough parts here in the early part of the season. That Supra is a new car to that AE Victory team. Of course, they had been in an Audi. I mean, they were in an Audi R8 LMS GT4 there for a long time. That car was mid-pack at I think at best, capable of mid-pack at best, even in the most ideal circumstances. And that Audi was just so heavy, really couldn't get it to the right power number that you would want it at, just based on the nature of that big V10 in the back of that Audi. They've gone to the Supra this year, taken a couple of races to get their heads around it, and unfortunately didn't get a whole lot of track time up at Road America with some technical issues on the Friday that spilled over right into Saturday and pretty much ended their weekend there. But to be able to launch that Supra, Toyota Supra GT4, onto the third row, provisionally at least, is a really good start for Sarah Montgomery, Alana Carter, and the girls with that number 119 Supra. 89X Motorsports in the number 89, GTR 99 make up the fourth row at the moment. Low Country Motorsports in the number 843. It's the tube frame Chevrolet Camaro. There's a whole lot going on with tube frame cars here. I'm sure we'll talk about more about it tomorrow, but you've got, number one, the only tube frame car in a class full of what is otherwise production-based machinery, GT4 machinery in particular. You've got the homage to NASCAR being a NASCAR-based chassis with what appears to be a carved Tomorrow rear wing on the back. The Chevrolet Camaro, obviously, with the Chevy Camaro bodywork hung over that chassis. And then, obviously, the Grand Am Prep 2 history here as well. And we're Ryan West, not up in Wisconsin at the moment, covering another event for us on DriversEye Live. Well, let me tell you, we launch into a discussion right now about Grand Am Prep 2 machinery. So Daytona always has a way of tying these motorsports-based things together. If you're into the history of motorsports, obviously we bring back the Paul Revere name this weekend to the World Racing League, the Paul Revere 14-hour. Just all kinds of little really awesome things here if you're into sports car racing and motorsports in general. And, yeah, nice to see that Low Country car up into the top 10. And then the number 2 from ACP Tangerine Associates, that BMW the rounding out your top 10 first thing this morning. Heading towards the end of our 30-minute session here. We are 19 minutes deep by my clock. If you're following along with timing, it's either race-monitor.com or redmist.racing, which is a development project from Brian Griggs down with Big Mission Motorsports. Brian's here this weekend, and had the opportunity to chat with him yesterday about it. Hopefully we're headed towards a place here where we can start to get that mixed into our timing data on the ticker, some of our predictive data as well. That has featured for a really long time here, actually, in on DriversEye Live and our coverage of the World Racing League. And that'll be coming hopefully tomorrow, actually. I think we're going to be doing some live development and live updates on that. So DriversEye Live soon to be powered here by redmist.racing, which is awesome. Now that I've got everything squared away on our end, it's been a hectic morning here, dear viewer. But shots of the back straightaway here down at the Le Mans chicane, such as it's known now. I think last time we were here, it had just changed over with the Daytona Le Mans crossover. Obviously, we head into Le Mans race week when we leave here. Scrutineering taking place today out in the center of the town of Le Mans. I'll be carrying on tomorrow as well before we get to test day on Sunday. Apologies there at the top of the screen. We've got shift this over to the correct end time, which is going to be 1:30 this afternoon. At 1:35. Be too easy to blame our timing guru who sits over here to the left-hand side, but can't do that. Dave McDaniel also takes way too much care of us here at DriversEye Live. Never mind also being the timing and scoring expert. Ooh, big lockup from the Moorhead Speedworks Janetta. Is that the 290 or the 291 out into the paved runoff at turn number 5? 2 Janetta G56s here this weekend. There's the second one, obviously. Much slower. Oh, that's a 50. Ooh, I'm confused. 55 or 56 there. Anyway, I believe it was the 290 that was on the brakes there into turn number 5. That 290 appears to be the only one on a flyer. 291 is showing is just out of the pit lane this time around. So I believe that will have been the lead car out of the 2 Moorhead Speedworks Janettas. First time we've seen that as well, making up for their absences over the second half of last season and early parts of 2025. Bumped into Chad at registration yesterday, who very astutely noted that we weren't in Massachusetts. Chad was intrigued by the Paul Revere name and got to share a little bit of the history of the Paul Revere 250 back when it was the middle part of the IMSA and Grand Am seasons. Now it's the Paul Revere 14-hour, of course. Able to share some of that, and yeah, exciting stuff. It's also considerably warmer here than it is anywhere in Massachusetts at the moment. And it was the 290 here. It just came by start-finish. So quick lockup there. Here if they've got the ABS turned down a little bit. That car is a GT4-ish or GT4 adjacent car. Ought to have ABS, but it does help sometimes if you're not running, let's say, a BMW or a Supra that are, maximum development on the electronic side, to feel that that, let's say, that margin or that dividing line between lockup and not, dial that ABS back a little bit for performance and pure lap time. Then when you get into the long race tomorrow, to bring it back up, shift your braking points back maybe 10 or 15 meters and ride the ABS. Last thing you want around here, especially with these high banks, is a vibration or a flat spot. If you're into sim racing at all, anything that's not iRacing based, I was just most recently kind of getting myself back into Le Mans Ultimate and doing some races there. Those lockups and the flat spots are deadly to vibrations, and the last thing you want here is to be finishing up a 3 or 4 hour stint on tires around the high banks with the wheel rattling itself to pieces at 155, 160 miles an hour, headed down into the braking zone there at the end of the In any case, let's do a quick rundown of the, as I sort out other issues adjacent to what we're doing here. Getting some information from Brad McCall, who is down in the pit lane at the moment as we go side by side down into turn number 3. Peek out my window here. A bunch of GTU cars together, the round 3 cars also together. We probably should have talked about this a little bit early on, but with it being so rapid fire in this 30-minute qualifying session, difficult to really kind of key in on all of these tactics. Those GTU cars especially, you see the Stratus cars here entering the shot at turn 5. It's so important to be able to utilize the draft, especially the lower your horsepower is. The round 3 cars are together coming out of the NASCAR banking at turn number 4 and out to start number finish. Number 1 leading number 10. The Stratus cars obviously all right together. The thought would be to cycle through your lead car, have the second and third cars pick up the draft, and just like a peloton, right? Like a cycling peloton. You want to repeat that and get different cars that turn at the front, doing the work, punching that hole in the air so that the second and third cars can benefit from it. Stratus number 60 doing that to good effect now, being the provisional pole sitter at 2:02.417. Stratus 59 slips to second behind the sister car. And then the round 3 racing number 1 slips back to, or sits now in P3 ahead of Stratus number 58. So we're split by just over a second across the top 5 in GTU. The remaining multi-car operation there in the GTU category is going to be automatic racing, of course, the 908 sporting a new paint scheme this weekend, and the 909, or at least a complete paint scheme. I think they had started something different on the 908 back at Road America. Those cars not running together out on the banking. It's also worth noting, I've just been told this by Brad McCall down there in the pit lane, Heraflight in the orange number 247, you'll see it here just entering the shot off in the distance. You'll see the 3 Stratus cars, Heraflight, and then the 908 from Automatic. There it is. That car being powered by a 2.5-liter engine this weekend is what I'm being told. And I think I remember hearing earlier in the season that there was going to be some experimenting with, I think it was going to be a 2.5-liter EcoBoost engine to give that car a little bit more torque, a little bit more punch where it was required. You would hope that, a place like Daytona, you would have that ready to go, at least in experimental form. Same thing goes for Watkins Glen a little bit later in the season. You really want that punch off the corners. Be interesting to see how that changes the dynamics of the car. At 2,200 pounds, your margin for weight shift and center of gravity movement really kind of goes away. And if you put a heavier lump into the back of it, even nominally heavier, it can move the CG a little bit rearward, and now all of a sudden you're doing all kinds of different things with both the suspension geometry and the aerodynamics on the car as well. Really kind of does become a true prototype when you think about it. I mean, prototype in the purest sense of the form is, a purpose-built race car that is meant to be, in some ways, experimental, right? You're building on pure racing technology and finding a way to build a better mousetrap, such as it is. And it's cool to kind of see that happening in real time in the World Racing League. As we approach the final minute of qualifying, we'll talk about this more tomorrow with JT Tammy when he joins us from not just the chat, but Polecat also with the 2.5 liter we're hearing from Cal Denice, which is very cool. Polecat not out on track today, at least as far as we've been able to tell. But we'll talk a little bit more about this. World Racing League is kind of one of the last, let's say the last frontiers where it's a truly open rule book, where you've got the opportunity to play around within the confines of a 9-to-1 power-to-weight ratio and some performance modifiers there to, make race cars go fast for a long time. Le Mans has gone the way of homologation, even in prototypes with these technical jokers. Yes, okay, you can adapt for reliability if it's needed, but when it comes to pure performance, even aerodynamically, you're backed into a corner with a 4-to-1 lift-drag ratio. Here, basically anything goes. Read the rule book, take your modifiers into account, and come up with the best way to go quickly for a long period of time. Checkered flag waves at the World Center of Racing down the front straightaway. First car across the line is going to be the number 291 from Moorhead Speedworks. Does not improve, 202.323 to go P14. We've got most of the field at the moment down in the pit lane. 2 round 3 cars enter the pits. Interesting to see how this session has developed. Daytona's always a little bit of a special case here. Never mind the banking, but the track temperatures as well. The GTO cars get out, baby the tires for a lap or two, throw down, obviously down into the 159s for round 3 racing. A 159.101 is going to be your pole time. Basically throw down early, get the lap time in before the best comes out of the tire of choice, whatever that happens to be in the GT classes. GTU takes a little bit longer to get those tires up to temperature, up to pressure, and working conditions. Most of the teams in that class running Bridgestones this weekend, I think, is the case. They rely a little bit less on that pure performance. Sometimes best to bring everything up in a much more gradual manner. Take 3 or 4 laps to get the left sides up to temperature as well. The right sides will obviously take a bunch of heat around the banking, so no worries there. But those left sides you want to keep an eye on as well. Take those few laps and then settle into your drafting strategy. I'm sure, even though we've been away for 2 years, that comes pretty second nature to most teams, but it does take some time to get it all right and make sure that you're making the best of all of the resources that you have available to you, which in the cases of round 3 racing, Stratus, automatic racing are going to be those team cars. We saw that a little bit from the Genettas at Moorhead Speedworks as well. Really, really good to see, kind of the way that strategy all takes place. Unfortunately, with these cars in particular, you do tend to get the quickest times at the beginning of the session. That's the way qualifying usually goes. Of course, no point in slapping on a second set of tires for a 14-hour race, the Paul Revere 14-hour at Daytona International Speedway. But that is going to wrap up GTO and GTU qualifying. First half hour from Friday action here at the Daytona International Speedway done and dusted. We'll do a quick rundown before we head over to break. It's round 3 racing and off-leash motorsports, number 40 on the front row. To lead off Paul Revere 14-hour tomorrow morning here at Daytona International Speedway. Go-Karts Go Australia, number 158 alongside the 74 BMW of AOA Racing to start alongside the Mercedes there on the second row. FPRS Motorsports into the top 5. Really, really good lap there. 2 minutes, .364 is the best time for that Ford Mustang GT4 alongside a really impressive showing from the 119 AE Victory Racing Toyota Supra. That all-female crew. I'm being told maybe a local news report about everything that goes into that AE Victory Racing effort here at the World Center of Racing. Really, really good effort there to get that car up onto the first 3 rows. Fourth row will be 89X Motorsports, number 89, Aston Martin Vantage GT4, GTR number 99, that Toyota, I'm sorry, BMW now, such as it is. BMW M4 to start in P8. Low Country Motorsports into the top 10, number 843 in 9th. Fast Track Racing, number 188 in 10th. That car sporting the SRO number panels yesterday at Tech still. So very, very much the Lupe Tortilla sponsored car that we see Judson Holt and some of the three fast guys and Denny drivers in over there in SRO. And, of course, here in the World Racing League as well. 11th to 12th will be ACP Tangerine, number 2, alongside 163 Random Vandals Racing. Number 52 to start 13th. 14th is at number 291 we already talked about. P15, 172 of TLM USA. Stoic Racing, number 87 to start P16. 17, 18, 19 will be Moorhead Speedworks, number 290. LML Racing, number 78. And the Camborne Performance Janetta, number 178 there in P19. Also worth mentioning, 20th car in GTO should have been the number 669 Rapscallion Ligier JS2R. That car, actually right in front of both Layla and myself here, our social media expert at World Racing League, at DriversEye Live, lost it exiting the kink over at turn number 4 and backed it in right in front of the marshal's post at turn number 5. And did some pretty significant damage to the right rear corner of that car. Both bodywork and suspension are going to need some attention and adjustment before racing begins tomorrow at 8 a.m. Hello to all the marshals down there at turn number 5. Not sure if we can be heard around the infield, but let's see, friend of DriversEye Live, Tim Verkamp down there at 5. You can hear me, Tim. Hello. Nice to see you. I'll come say hi later maybe, or tomorrow if you're out and about. Thanks to all of our marshals for being here as well. We're going to step aside here on DriversEye Live. We've got a couple of odds and ends to tie up. We are live also from our friends up at the SCCA, the June Sprints coverage starting here momentarily with qualifying coverage from Friday of the 70th consecutive running of that event. If you need something to do during the break, by all means, go check it out. And join us here at 2:20, please. 2:20 will be our resumption time for GP qualifying. That'll be your general production classes, GP1 and GP2. Around the high banks here. A little bit slower, but no less intense. 22 cars, your biggest field of the weekend in GP1. Cannot wait. They'll be rounded out by the GP2 field as well. So for Dustin Ollis on the ones and the twos, Layla Kazmarek up here in the booth with me. I'm Brendan Kazmarek. We'll step aside until that session kicks off here in, let's call it about 45 minutes. Be back in 40 or so. And we'll take you through the general production classes to set the rest of the grid for the Paul Revere 14-hour at Daytona International Speedway. We'll be back in a moment.
You can feel confident Continental is the smart choice in tires.
Can they handle extremes?
Yep. Tested from the Texas desert to near the Arctic Circle.
Really?
Really.
Anything for the guy who finds that one pothole?
Yeah, road hazard coverage has your back.
For real?
Absolutely.
Were they made by, like, a bajillion engineers?
Well, closer to 100. Continental. Welcome to the smart choice in tires. You can feel confident Continental is the smart choice in tires.
Can they handle extremes?
Yep. Tested from the Texas desert to near the Arctic Circle.
Really?
Really?
Anything for the guy who finds that one pothole?
Yeah, road hazard coverage has your back.
For real?
Absolutely.
Were they made by like a bajillion engineers?
Well, closer to 100. Continental. Welcome to the smart choice in tires.
Back at the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway, for our second qualifying session of the afternoon. This is general production GP1 and GP2. GP3 would be welcome as well, but fortunately not got any of our GP3 entrants on the list this weekend. So we go to battle with 22 GP1 cars and filling out the field of what should be 64 total cars with general production 2 entries, a little bit lower on power, a little bit slower on the high banks, but no less intense in terms of the action across the class. GP1 we've always described as being something of a knife fight in a phone booth here at DriversEye Live, and certainly expect that to be the case again this weekend. It's been a pretty special battle here over the years in GP1. Screaming Goat racing here this weekend was part of an epic finish, actually in GTO at the time, now that I think about it, in 2021 with automatic racing, passed within the last 20 laps for the 20 minutes for the overall lead. We've had early contact taking contenders out and kind of blowing the race wide open within the first 30 minutes back in, I think, 2022 or 23. Daytona always seems to deliver, and that includes our production classes here as well. Green flag waves at start finish, and we will head back to qualifying action. 30 more minutes on the clock, which we will get up for you here in just a moment from our friends over in timing and scoring. Just need to make sure we've got the right time. Looks like we've got the right time remaining here. Got our camera shot up for turns 1 and 2. A little long left-hander. Not really even an apex there. I suppose there kind of is, but there's a crown in the road that really kind of screws your entry up on the brakes on the way in there, so you can carry a little bit of speed around the outside, but it's off camber. You can get back to the apex. You don't really want to tighten up, so you kind of want to get out to the curb on the exit. A couple of different ways to go about that 1-2 complex, and then, of course, the chicane corner that leads you out into the braking zone for turn number 3. There's your ring of BMWs headed down into the brake zone at turn number 5. It's the Western Horseshoe, just inside the banking at oval 1 and 2. And back on the brakes towards turn number 6. Was able to get that camera up in the brake as well. Big bumps there right at the apex of turn number 6. Blaze car a little bit deep. That's the number 118 BMW E36. A little late on the brakes there into turn 6. Able to get out over the curb on the exit there. And hard on the throttle, trying to carry all that speed around oval turns 1 and 2, right down to the double yellow lines, which we've been told this year are out of bounds around the tri-oval here. I'm not sure that's been the case in years past, but on restarts and any green flag competitions, that yellow line is not to be passed. Becoming, I think I'm right in saying that's becoming a Daytona Global rule here as well, not just for us in the World Racing League, but just generally as well. I don't really want that flat surface being used for racing and passing purposes. Not really seeing the drafting I thought we might here, even in a competitive situation. You'd want to set yourself, you'd think, up behind the car in front of you. This BMW in the old M3 GTR livery, number 221, is going to be our first representative lap time. That's HK Motorsports 216.189. That car is pretty immediately, so I've got to sort by fastest lap here. There we go. Harrison Motorsports immediately to the top now, 212.416, and that BMW E90, that V8 power, lots of torque out of that engine, I think is going to play well for that number 392 Harrison Beamer. And already down into the 212s for a class pull time. Fast track racing, number 927. goes second in class at a 2:14.924 and kind of splits it from that first group we saw around start finish, including Blaze Racing number 118, HK Motorsports leaving your shot there. That's the Palomar Racing number 83 down in GP2. Car puts it at 2:39.9, so this will be its first flyer. Oh, Harrison drops a couple of wheels there on the exit of the kink. It's how Rapscallion got themselves in trouble during practice earlier on this morning. Can only get away with that so many times, unfortunately. If you get the wheels straightened there, up over that yellow curb on corner exit, you can just about hold it until you get to the motorcycle, the old motorcycle layout now. I don't think it's used anymore. Just about hold it there until you get all four wheels back on the solid stuff. But it can be pretty hairy there for just a moment. Problem is, if you crank the wheel to try and stay out of the grass, you're way more likely to have the car rotate on you and head towards that blue and white striped Armco to driver's left, where we've got the Scream and Go car headed through. That's the number 29 V8 powered BMW. 2 is currently your provisional pole sitter. So headed down into turn number 6, the orange and white, red and white, depending on if you're me or literally anybody else apparently. Scream and Go Racing 325i with the LS engine in the front of it, out over the exit curb at turn 6 and onto the banking. Steals the pole, the provisional pole away from Harrison Motorsports in the number 392. Saw our Continental tire commercial earlier on. That is, of course, our spec tire provider here in the general production classes in the World Racing League. That's largely a cost control measure. Of course, we've got open tire formula in the Grand Touring classes, but Continental Tires stepped in to be a part of WRL beginning with last season. Now, what that means is, realistically, 0 of these cars have data on the Daytona high banks on these tires. Unless they've run other events here, which I don't think will be the case on the Continental specifically. I think there's really any other opportunity to do that. It means that we're all kind of figuring this out in real time. Now, we'll talk to RJ about this tomorrow. I'm sure he'll want to provide some insights. But I think I'm right in saying that Continental provided data and recommended pressures and camber settings for those GP tires in an effort to ensure that they can put up with the, not extreme, but the higher loads around the 31-degree banking here at Daytona International Speedway. It does take a moment to kind of figure all that out, and you'd want to be safe rather than sorry, especially when you're dealing with track temperatures north of 120, 130 degrees and ambient temperatures up well into the 90s. We've seen when teams get aggressive, they get really aggressive on camber, and they get really aggressive on some of the pressure settings, and we've seen tire chunking in some of the open tire categories in the past here. Continental obviously will provide that data as it becomes available. Make sure that everybody is safe. Top speeds in the production categories here, probably north of 130, I'd say 140 miles an hour before we jump on the brakes down into turn number 1. There is your Scream and Goat car. Still your provisional pole sitter, but the time has improved now to a 2:10.382 with the Rapscallion number 135. Well, formerly a Mazda Miata, now a Rapscallion RP1. For all intents and purposes, an NC, but that car's had a lot of development work done to it. That's 3rd in GP2 at the moment. So your top 5 in GP2 at this early stage is Palomar Racing number 83. That's the BMW we saw a little bit earlier on. Number 222 from Rebel Racing at a 2:17.736. So about 0.3 of a second in arrears of that Palomar Beamer. The Rapscallion 135 and 3rd, as we said, 2:19.678, so 2 seconds of drift then. Then it's really tight behind them. 779 Lagunatix Racing, just 5/1000ths of a second behind the 135. Open Throttle 66, then 65, then 69, down to P7, and then AOA Racing's number 851. That's the NC Miata in 8th, rounding out your GP2 field. Looks like, is that Blaze Racing ducking into the paddock? Yes, it is. Number 118 will call it a session. GP1 rundown should do that quickly here as well. Scream and Goat Racing number 29 2:10.382. The number 392 of Harrison Motorsports into second. Palomar Racing, number 38, in third, 2:10.651. So about half a second in a drift of the second place car. Not anymore. Palomar Racing, as we speak, on the brakes into turn number 1. Resets the second quickest time of the session, 2:12.085. There is the number 38. Displaces the Harrison Motorsports number 392 by, what is that, 16 thousandths of a second around this 3.56 mile layout. Insanely close at the front of GP1. 522 of Choice Racing. Actually, is that the car right in front of them? Yes, it is. Sits in fourth, 213.735. So a little bit of a gap behind that top three, that top trio in GP1 at the moment. Then the number 6 of GSD Motorsports, who now falls back to 6th because All-Star Racing in the number 5 jumps into second in the GP1 class, 211.263. So all change there at the front of GP1. Screaming Goat came out and laid out a screamer, 210.382. And then just ever so gradually in the field behind them, the rest of the GP1 field picking up tenths and, in some cases, seconds here to try and get themselves up into the top couple of rows. 392, Harrison is into the pit lane. The car just sporting a little lip spoiler this weekend. They've done away with the low rear wing, as we've seen here with various teams at Daytona. Anything you can do to get yourself a little bit of extra power on the dyno. Of course, those rear wings do bring a performance modifier, a power-to-weight modifier with them to help balance different concepts of cars. And in some cases, when you get to, I think Road America was the same, when you get to these higher speed tracks with, the biggest top end we'll see anywhere on the calendar, sometimes it's useful to ditch that arrow in favor of a little bit of extra power, a little bit lower weight, as the case might be. Of course, you go with power around these high banks. And it's being used to good effect at the moment. Now slips to 4th on the back of that time from All-Star Racing and Palomar, number 38. PC Racing is your first car outside the top 5. Number 44 car sitting in 6th. That is just about half a tenth off of the Choice Racing fastest lap time. Number 927 of Fast Track Racing. That is a BMW M2 Club Sport. I think I'm right in saying the first time we've seen that car in, or that team in GP1. JT Tammy will probably remember better than myself. So I'll rely on him sometime tomorrow to get us a little bit of additional information. JT is something of a production class specialist. Hello to JT in the chat. Mike Anderson in the chat as well. It's quite warm out there. Yeah, no kidding. It's July in Daytona Beach. It's June in Daytona Beach. Listen, folks, with the morning I've had this morning, I woke up in June, and it might as well already be July. Layla really pointing out that it is not the month I said it was. Just like our man Chad Moorhead yesterday pointing out that we're not in Massachusetts here. Obviously, we are not in July as things stand. It'll be our next World Racing League event towards the end of July down at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, but bigger fish to fry here with the Paul Revere 14-hour at the World Center of Racing. As we said during our earlier session, if you weren't able to join us, thrilled to be back after a year away. The sort of emergency paving of the runoff on the inside of the backstretch after a really quite gnarly accident for Ryan Preece in the second NASCAR event of the season here at the end of 2023 necessitated that from a safety perspective. Unfortunately, when you do that, obviously they had to repave the bus stop. It's reprofiled the bus stop a little bit as well, and we'll talk about that plenty tomorrow. It's, I think, kind of altered what the perception of that corner is, not just as the way it races and the way it drives from a racing line perspective and a speed perspective, but also as a passing opportunity. It's a much more gradual arc into that first apex, whereas it used to be a little bit more aggressively squared off. And I do wonder if it's going to change the way we look at passing there at the Le Mans chicane. Same thing will go for the track limits concerns there as well, with everything being pavement, essentially from the exit of NASCAR 2 right through to the early part of the banking at NASCAR 3. It can be very, very difficult to pick out, well, just about anything there. Pretty, unfortunately, featureless now to spot your braking points and all 4 of the apexes at the Le Mans chicane. So far, so good, and as the rubber gets laid down there, it's much easier to spot it, but just reprofiled that corner ever so slightly. I'd also be interested to hear, we did hear from Brad McCall earlier on by text. He's hearing that the GTU min corner speeds there are as much as 10 miles an hour slower in a GTU car. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I'm not convinced that the chicane hasn't been brought in slightly to create a little bit of extra runoff there to drivers left. If we could just pull back to that shot, Dustin. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I think there may be a little bit of extra road drivers left before you get to the tires in an event to allow drivers to continue scrubbing speed off if they get it wrong through the first apex or two. I'd be interested to see overlays as we now go black flag all here. I'd be interested to see what the case is there. It didn't really look very fundamentally different, but because there's no remnants of the old pavement there, it's really, really difficult to tell what the case actually is. Anyway, it's dropped the min corner speeds there by as much as 10 miles an hour. The curbs are way less friendly than they used to be. Used to be able to run right over the flat curbs with countersunk ripple strips in them. And now that is very much a tall, aggressive, bolt-in curb. Set of curbs there at all 4 apices. And also, you're straightening the exit there off much less than you used to be able to. You used to be able to just open the wheel up, fire it at the turn 3 safer barrier, and just kind of hang on. Now you've really got to round that last apex off a little bit. I think it's changed the way that corner is approached. The car in question is stopped at the entrance to turn 6. So there's a waving yellow there and a safety truck. Do we have that camera, Dustin, or is that one gone? There it is. Just off in the distance there at the old motorcycle, not even a motorcycle chicane, it's that motorcycle sequence there they used to use in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Is that the HC Autosport 455, maybe? Very difficult to tell from way up here. If that's the case, that car would have been on an outlap. Way behind on water consumption at the moment, so unfortunately my throat is getting the better of me here. As always, the Daytona International Speedway safety cavalry comes to the assist of that car, which appears to have just coasted to a stop and pulled off there to driver's right. The preference would have been obviously to get to driver's left just past the marshal's post and into the gate, sort of the back door there on the inside of turn number 6. You can see where the easy up is for the marshals. That little access road dips down into the infield ring road here at Daytona. And if it could have gotten to driver's left there and around the end of the marshal's post, maybe driven it back in. But getting across the track is not always easy. And if that's the farthest that car got, he's still a good, I don't know, 100, 150 feet away from, let's call it 100 feet away from being able to actually make it behind safety there. In either case, if it didn't get behind a gate, I think we would have had to go full course yellow to dispatch the vehicles, such as our standard procedure here at Daytona anyway. Be interesting to see what this does with just about 10 minutes left on the clock. Dear viewer, we've got a couple of cars that have gone straight to queue at the end of the pit lane, and another couple of cars, let's call it about a dozen, that are in their pit stalls. And we'll probably take a look at tire temperatures and pressures before they are resent. Just before that before that black flag all, 222 of Rebel Racing up into the provisional pole sitting spot in GP2 was able to displace Palomar by less than a tenth of a second. Call it, what is that? 67 thousandths is the margin there from Triple Two back to number 83. They are a good second and a half clear of the Lagunatics, number 779. But that Rebel Racing entry is that's a really impressive. Go ahead. Oil on the outside of 5 is what we're being told there. Yeah, okay. I wonder. Oh, it's Mike Anderson. Yeah, lots of oil outside of 5. He drove dumping oil from the entry to 5. Right. Oh, and you know what? If you look out the window and squint, you can actually see along the how do I describe this? The pavement seams from when they repaved the infield in 2007, 8, whatever it was. You can actually kind of see a streak of oil that goes with that. I wonder what this is going to do for our remaining 8.5 minutes here. It certainly means that that car is going to have to be put on a tilt bed rather than a flat tow. Obviously, Daytona has the sweeper truck out. They make quick work of this where they dump the sand right in front of the broom. So they do a really, really nice job of getting the fluid covered and swept. But it does still take a moment. And with just 8.5 minutes left on the clock there, we are inching ever closer here to maybe not being able to get this session back underway. So we'll take a moment just to preview tomorrow here on DriversEye Live in the World Racing League. The Paul Revere 14-hour kicks off at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be live here about 10 minutes prior to that. Myself, JT Tammy, think we might have Joseph Mudrock along for the ride here for a little while as well. Live flag-to-flag coverage of the Paul Revere 14-hour with our camera coverage here, DriversEye Live, Brendan Kazmarek, JT Tammy, Dustin Ollis, Layla Kazmarek will also feature as well. Ends at 10 p.m., obviously, is when we'll get our checkered flag, providing the weather plays ball here. We've been pretty lucky so far today. We were in a decent shape yesterday as well. Don't be surprised if we see our traditional Florida afternoon thunderstorm, although I have to say the forecast actually looks maybe the best we've seen it here for the Daytona Beach area. But you know as well as I do, you're never fully in the clear. So join us from 8 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow for that live coverage of the Paul Revere 14-hour, the World Racing League. One of the best events of the year, certainly one of my favorites. Could do with it being a little cooler, but it's going to be a ripper of a race nonetheless. For the rest of the evening, when we leave you here in a couple of moments' time, of course, we'll have DriversEye Live coverage of the SCCA June Sprints up at Road America. Porsche Clash at the Glen is on something of a delay at the moment, but will be live when they're ready to go up there at WGI, up in the Finger Lakes as well. Porsche Club of America, where I think we've got some friends of WRL competing this weekend as well. So lots of grassroots racing action being covered by Ryan West, Scott Michaels, who are on assignment around the country. But of course, tomorrow your feature event is right here at the World Center of Racing, and the return of the Paul Revere and the Paul Revere 14-hour at DriversEye Live, or on DriversEye Live. Oil being cleared up at the exit of 5, right down across the braking zone. In a lovely spot. You can see it cross right over from the exit there on driver's left into where that car came to rest on driver's right. I haven't seen a checkered flag or any indication that the session is not likely to resume. I think we'll be able to get these cars pulled away, although we are now sending the jet dryer, the jet blower, out from the safety staging area on the inside of Turn 1. That car is now rounding the International Horseshoe. Will make its way over to Turn 5 here momentarily. So the sweeping... The sand is down, and the sweeping should begin here momentarily. Obviously, they'll want to come blow the residue away and clear that up as much as they can, specifically because it's right there across the braking zone from left to right. at turn 6. You're over the bumps at that point as well. I mean, it's really in a pretty tricky spot there. And actually now, I'm not sure if you can see it. No, it's left the shot. They are, as Mike Anderson said, drawing that dust a little bit further back towards turn number 5, trying to get the oil covered up and cleaned up as much as they can. Coming up here at Daytona International Speedway with qualifying done, we'll go back to another HPDE session. We'll be able to run just the one more race practice session at the conclusion of this GP qualifying session. So it'll go HPDE, practice, and then HPDE to round out the day at 5 o'clock. So really, that's kind of the last opportunity for GP and GT cars alike, if they're not participating in the open track HPDE, to get race practice in, run something on full tanks, get a feel for the car on older tires, really go get a sense of what the car is going to be like in the heat of the day in race trim, and rotate through drivers one more time before we head towards a race start tomorrow morning. Longest event on the 2025 WRL calendar, of course, the first round of the Super Endurance Cup. Round 2 comes later in August up at High Plains Raceway in Deer Trail, Colorado. Three minutes remain on the clock. No movement as yet from the starter. Let's see if maybe we have thoughts of extending this session. Thought being here that we run these as 30-minute sessions instead of 35, just to kind of round things out. But we do have a little window to play with here before we would theoretically go back to HPDE. So let me go talk with Race Control and Timing Guru to see what the plan is here. Maybe get these GP cars just a little bit of extra time here. We've lost upwards of 10 minutes, I think would be the case here at the end of this session, which would be pretty significant, I think. So I'll be right back and hopefully have an answer for you, see if we get this session restarted or if we're going to call it a day here for general production qualifying. Just stand by one. Update, dear viewer. The answer is at least 5 minutes. Our man Steve Debrecht up in Race Control. The call came to him, and he made the call as I walked into the room to say, number one, be really careful, because there's oil dry all the way across from turn 5 to turn 6 and transitioning across your braking zone. And you will have an opportunity to see that. When we get going here, we're going to extend the session at least 5 minutes from DIS. Appreciate everybody's company here on DriversEye Live, as always, with our qualifying coverage. Over the years has been something we've talked about doing, but never really gotten ourselves into. And with the move to a single session, or single session for the GT and the GP classes, kind of condenses this into a nice little morsel. And were it not for the fact that we've got, I don't know, 30-something hours of live racing to cover across our 3 teams of producers and on-site reps here at DriversEye Live, we would normally turn this into the WRL podcast hour as well, but took the opportunity to go reset some cameras out in the grandstands here and prevent you from having to just listen to me talk by myself for the duration of this afternoon. All right. Becoming the WRL meme hour here is what it's becoming. More on that later. Tease for tomorrow. We do have cars back on course. We've waved the, not really waved the green, but we've released the cars from the end of the pit lane here, expecting at least 5 minutes, but I don't really have an end time on that. So let's make a on-the-fly guesstimate here of an end time. Oops. 14-hour clocks are important. Okay, there we go. Let's we'll call it like 3:40 remaining here. Like we said, this would normally be a 35-minute session. We're at a practice or an HPDE session. Qualifying has been reduced to 30 minutes, but in cases like this, I think it's the right thing to do if we've got the track time to take advantage of it and try and make up for that lost time sitting in the pit lane waiting for the oil dry to be cleaned up. Out at T6. The other thing that I think this is going to do is if you've set yourself up right behind either a friendly car, a team car, or at least a similarly classed car, you may have an opportunity here to get yourself a draft lap if you want it. If you're open throttle, for example, with 3 cars down there in GP2. If you're Palomar, maybe. If you play your cards right, you may be able to orchestrate yourself a draft for the GP2 car at least around maybe half a lap. And there they are, actually. 38 and 83 together. Just left the shot, headed towards NASCAR Turn 3. Yeah, this is kind of the right move. That 83 in particular is so marginally on the outside of the front row. Palomar 38, for that matter, is right. It's a little further afield of the front row in GP1, but good opportunity to use this if you're that Palomar squad and that number 38 in particular to try and get yourself an improved lap. One of the advantages of having a multi-car operation there, if you're really going to sink something into this, and that opportunity is there for you. This would be the way to take advantage of that. Screaming Goat just does an installation lap, a quick out and then back in for that LS-powered BMW. Green flag is waving. We think about a minute and a half left here on the clock as the Almonte Motorsports number 9 heads down from 5 towards turn number 6. Dustin getting caught out by a camera that has succumbed to the heat there just for a moment. Doing some experimenting today with heat management. Be interested to see what the results are when go to retrieve the cameras this afternoon. Some have done better than others, that is for sure. Let's see what Palomar number 83, there it is, headed through the exit of turn number 6, up onto the banking at NASCAR turn 1, stays to driver's left. And right around that double yellow line, trying to shorten the distance around oval 1 and 2. Stay to the left here and then eventually drift high towards the braking zone. Also worth remembering, much like IMSA, the rule or the general rule of thumb here is stay low if you're slow, high if you're in a faster class car. Pass to driver's right around the oval, and that really kind of takes place as you come off of turn number 6, and as you come off the bus stop, you'll stay left if you're in a GP2 car. Well, if you're in any car, you'll stay left and then move up to the right to pass. Keeps things very predictable. If you go back and watch some old footage, if you're clamoring for some Daytona 24-hour historical goodness, before that was really solidified as a, that is an open throttle car shedding a bumper or a splitter, I think, across the start-finish line. So it'll be the first one into your shot here. There it is. It looked like it dropped. Maybe that's a side skirt or the front splitter. As it came across start-finish, it shedded it, and it's now sitting on the apron, literally right across from where I sit. Could not be more in line with me here at pit stall 21 or so. Off of the surface, down on the flat apron, so that's good, but for sure missing part of that open throttle BMW. Checkered flag now waves. Zeros on the clock. The surface flag is also in the air, so I think just about everybody has been able to start this last flying lap. Palomar 38 works its way through the Western Horseshoe. So everybody now across the line will be starting their final lap time. Screaming Goat obviously into the pit lane, and All-Star Racing number 5 are going to sit on their 2-minute 10 window lap times. PC Racing up into 3rd in GP1, just about a 10th and a half clear. The Palomar number 38, who has an opportunity here as well with a good launch off of turn number 6 to try and get back towards the inside of that front row. Did set a personal best last time around. So if you can find a 10th or two, it's definitely there for them. Harrison Motorsports in the V8 BMW E90 slips down to 5th. The GSD Motorsports number 6 slips to P6 now. 212.750. That car is out on track as well. PC and that open throttle car now slightly bodywork less through the Le Mans chicane. Checkered flag in the air. First car across the line will be the Bruce Innovations, number 24. 212.948 is a personal best, goes P8. GSD Motorsports number 6 in the Turner Motorsports looking BMW there sits now P6. Does improve, but not the position. Zipa crosses the line in the 325 and also improves time, but not position. Palomar jumps PC Racing at the checkered flag. That is confirmed now. PC Racing into the pit lane will bump to the outside of the second row. Palomar found those 2/10 and just enough more to make the difference. We'll start on the the inside of row number 2 in GP1. PC Racing now to start on the outside. What about the Palomar number 83? Was there a change in GP2? Yes, there was. New class pole sitter in GP2 at the checkered flag. A 2:16.861 by half a second now. Palomar number 83 will start on the inside of the front row in GP2. Rebel Racing gets bumped to the outside in the number 222. Laguna Ticks, number 779 into 3rd. And the Rapscallion, number 135, RP1 into P4. Then your open throttle racing trio, only the 65 improving on the last lap, but 221.1. And then the 66 and the 69, as JT points out, sporting a really nice sort of rose gold livery on that car. I need to talk to Mike Gorman about that one. It's a great choice and one that I'm sure Layla Kazmarek is a big fan of here up in the booth as well. Really slick looking car from Mike Gorman. That rose gold would look awesome on a VW Fun Cup, Mike. I had to work it into a broadcast here somewhere. Let's talk about it. We'll have 14 hours to do it tomorrow. So let's begin to wrap ourselves up here from qualifying Friday afternoon coverage at the World Center of Racing, where I'm happy to say the A Tour has just arrived on the patio in front of our booth here. Some 3 dozen tour goers, including somebody sporting a vintage Fanatics Ernie Irvan Skittles cap. That is tremendous. I gotta find one of those. Hey Siri, Google Ernie Irvan Skittles Fanatics cap. We'll see what happens. More on that tomorrow. The Paul Revere 14 Hour kicks off on DriversEye Live, 8 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow morning. It is 14 hours of coverage spread across 2 parts of a YouTube stream. It'll all be here, of course, with DriversEye Live. Brendan Kazmarek, myself, JT Tammy will join us tomorrow morning as well. I think we'll have Joseph Mudrock doing some live development work as well, while JT steps away to do his normal Saturday sim racing. It's a one-day event for us, remember, here at Daytona, so no coverage Sunday, just right through the day tomorrow, and we'll transition over to part 2 somewhere around 3 or 4 o'clock, right in the heat of the day there, and take you right through to the checkered flag under the lights around the 31-degree banks at Daytona International Speedway. So we'll begin to wrap things up here. Do join us tomorrow. If you're looking for more grassroots motorsports coverage, by all means, check out our Road America and Watkins Glen coverage for the remainder of the day as well, with Ryan West and Scott Michaels on duty up there. Familiar voices to you all, I am sure, and friendly faces to me here at DriversEye Live as well. So for Layla Kazmarek at World Racing League on Instagram, who will be active throughout the rest of the evening and from the drivers' meeting as well. For Dustin Ollis, who is on the ones and indeed the twos, as you see there. I'm Brendan Kazmarek. Join us tomorrow at 8 a.m., just before 8 a.m., for the roll-off and the green flag of the Paul Revere 14 Hour at the World Center of Racing. Until then, take care.